The giant stage of Ireland's Got Talent glowed with a cold blue light as Daniel, a thin 17-year-old boy from a poor barangay in Cebu City, stepped into the spotlight. His clothes were simple, an old white shirt that had lost its crispness years ago, dark pants slightly too big for him, and worn-out shoes that had been patched so many times they barely held together. As he walked toward the center, he clutched the microphone with both hands, as if afraid someone might take it away. His eyes darted around the hall, overwhelmed by the thousands of faces staring at him, and the massive cameras towering over his small frame. To him, everything felt bigger, brighter, and louder than anything he had ever faced in his life. Growing up in poverty, Daniel had sung on street corners, outside sari-sari stores, and sometimes in jeepneys just to earn a few coins for rice. He had never stood on a real stage before, not one with lights, judges, cameras, and an audience that felt like an ocean surrounding him. His breathing grew uneven, and his fingers trembled as he positioned the microphone near his chest. The judges noticed immediately. Michelle, known for her empathy, leaned forward, her brows softening as she took in his nervousness. Patrick, the more energetic of the panel, tilted his head as if trying to understand what kind of story this young boy carried. Eleanor, calm and elegant, pressed her hands together and watched him with gentle curiosity. When Daniel introduced himself, his voice cracked slightly. He spoke in a soft Filipino accent, explaining how he had learned to sing Elvis Presley songs by listening through a broken radio at home. He shared that he performed at night to help his mother after his father left years ago, leaving them with nothing but unpaid debts and heartbreak. His words were raw and unpolished, carrying no rehearsed drama, just pure truth. The judges exchanged glances. They sensed the weight behind his timid smile and understood that this wasn't just another audition for him. This was his one chance to rewrite his life. The audience grew silent as the host stepped backstage, watching him with wide, worried eyes. Even the crew members paused, sensing something fragile and beautiful in the making. Daniel stood there, trying to steady himself. He closed his eyes tightly, not to block the world out, but to hold himself together. For a few seconds, he let the silence soak in, as if gathering all the strength he had built over years of singing under streetlights. And then, the music began, slow, warm, familiar. It was the opening of one of Elvis's classic soulful songs. The moment the first chord filled the hall, something changed in Daniel's posture. His shoulders relaxed slightly. His grip loosened. His breathing steadied. The judges leaned forward even more, sensing a shift, though they did not yet know what was coming. No one, not the audience, not the judges, not even Daniel himself, was prepared for the voice that was about to come out of him. When Daniel finally opened his mouth to sing, the transformation was instant, so sudden and powerful that the entire auditorium inhaled at the same time. His first note was rich, deep, and unbelievably smooth, the kind of tone that didn't just enter the ear, it entered the soul. It carried the unmistakable warmth of Elvis Presley, yet it was uniquely his, filled with the struggles, hunger, and quiet dreams of a poor Cebuano boy who had spent a lifetime singing on dusty streets. The hall, moments ago buzzing with soft chatter and subtle doubts, fell into a stunned silence. The sound boards lit up, the audio crew froze, and even the camera operators momentarily forgot to move. Judge Michelle instantly covered her mouth with both hands, her eyes widening as tears welled up. She had expected a shy, trembling performance. She had prepared herself for something small, fragile, maybe even disappointing. But this voice that felt like a warm wave washing over the room, caught her completely off guard. Patrick, who usually reacted with energy only toward seasoned performers, slammed his palm on the judge's desk with a loud, "Yes," before the first verse had even ended. His face lit up with childlike wonder, jaw dropped, eyes glued to Daniel as if witnessing a miracle unfold. Eleanor, known for her calm composure, whispered a quiet, "My God," as tears formed at the corners of her eyes. She leaned back slightly, overwhelmed, one hand pressed against her heart. Daniel's confidence grew with every note. His shoulders relaxed, his trembling stopped, and his voice soared with emotional strength he didn't know he possessed. He swayed slightly, not with exaggerated showmanship, but with the natural rhythm of someone who had practiced alone under the moonlight, pretending a sidewalk was a stage. Every vibrato carried the weight of years he spent singing for coins, every breath held the hope of finally being seen. The audience couldn't help themselves, they began reacting long before the song reached its peak. People in the front row stood up, gasping and cheering. The middle rows rose next, until the entire hall was on its feet, forming a wave of applause that echoed like thunder behind his voice. Patrick stood up in pure excitement, pointing at Daniel as if he had discovered a world treasure. He shouted, "This is what talent looks like." Michelle was crying openly now, wiping her tears but failing each time. Eleanor tried to maintain her composure, but her voice shook as she whispered, "This boy is singing from his soul, this is pure." The camera zoomed in on Daniel's face, eyes closed, eyebrows tightening in emotion, lips trembling as he delivered a powerful, heartbreaking final line. When Daniel hit the final note, he didn't just sing it, he held it, shaped it, filled it with longing, pain, hope, and gratitude. It shot through the hall like lightning, leaving a silent, trembling awe behind it. The moment he finished, he lowered the mic slowly, breathless, unaware of the history he had just made. For a moment after the final note faded, the entire auditorium froze in absolute stillness. It was as if everyone had forgotten how to breathe. Daniel stood there, thin, shaking, eyes lowered to the floor, unsure of what he had done, unsure of whether he had impressed anyone at all. His heart pounded so loudly he could hear it echoing inside his head. To him, silence meant failure. Silence meant disappointment. Silence meant he was still just a poor boy from Cebu who had dared to dream too big. But then, boom! A single clap broke the quiet, followed instantly by hundreds more, then thousands. The entire hall rose to their feet in a massive standing ovation that thundered across the studio like a wave of pure energy. People weren't just applauding, they were shouting, cheering, screaming his name. Some audience members were crying. Others had their hands on their heads in disbelief. Daniel's eyes widened in shock as he looked around, unable to process what was happening. He had never experienced applause like this, he had only ever heard claps from strangers passing by a street corner, never this explosive, never this emotional. Judge Patrick was the first to speak. Wiping tears from the corner of his eyes, he stepped toward the front of the desk and pointed at Daniel with trembling hands. His voice cracked as he said, "Daniel, you didn't just sing. You shook the entire world tonight." The crowd erupted again. Daniel covered his mouth, overwhelmed. Michelle stood up slowly, tears flowing freely down her cheeks. She pressed both hands to her heart, crying not because he was good, but because he was real. She said, voice trembling, "You came here as a poor boy from Cebu, but the moment your voice filled this room, you transformed into a legend. You touched every soul here." Daniel took a shaky breath, unable to control his tears now. His lips trembled as he tried to say thank you, but the words broke apart in his throat. He had spent his entire life singing for survival, not for applause. This moment felt unreal, like a dream too beautiful to belong to him. Then it happened. Judge Eleanor, silent this whole time, reached forward and slammed her hand onto the golden buzzer. A loud clang rang through the hall. A beat of silence. And then, gold confetti burst from the ceiling, raining down like the universe itself was blessing him. The audience screamed. Some jumped in joy. Even the camera crew cheered behind the lenses. Daniel collapsed to his knees as gold pieces covered his hair, his shoulders, his trembling hands. His cry was soft at first, then grew into uncontrollable sobbing. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. He had watched the golden buzzer on TV countless times, never imagining it would one day be for him. The judges rushed to the stage. Patrick hugged him tightly, lifting him slightly off the ground. Michelle knelt beside him, wiping his tears with gentle hands. Eleanor put an arm around him, whispering, "You deserve this, Daniel. You earned every second of this moment." A poor Filipino boy. A voice nobody expected. A moment Ireland, and the world, would never forget.